country in terms of people being inspired to take action. We have been looking, as you heard, about what the perception of the public is right now, particularly with some of the things that Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance say. Our poll shows 2/3 of Trump supporters believe those false and disparaging claims about Haitian migrants are true. The governor of Ohio has said he is a big supporter of the ticket, but he's sad about this because there's no evidence of these claims. He's disparaging migrants who are legal, and the verbal attacks dilute and cloud what should be a winning argument for Republicans about the border. Do you agree that this kind of thing is a distraction from the broader point and dangerous?
Well, it shouldn't be a distraction, because at a minimum, it shouldn't keep us from, for example, saying, okay, well, maybe I don't believe the dogs and the cats thing, but there are literally people moving in by the thousands in the case of Springfield, Charleroi in Pennsylvania. You know, that's a 4,000 person city that has 2,500 migrants. And I think one of the problems here is that somehow Americans who are not intolerant, they're not bigots, but they are troubled by the fact that their city is being flooded. In Springfield, you see reports, these are legitimate reports, of huge increases in traffic accidents leading to slower police response time, overcrowded schools. I mean, the strain this puts on a community, and if you complain about it, somehow you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a hater.
No,
that is the story here, that everyday Americans are being made to feel like they're haters because they're complaining about something any of us would complain. If any of us, I don't care who we are, live in a city of 4,000 people, and you bring in 2,500 migrants overnight into one place, there are going to be problems. And people are going to complain. That doesn't make you a bigot.
There are absolutely problems.
That should be what we're focused on.
That the governor has documented and that we have talked about here. But it wasn't everyday people making those claims. It was the Republican nominee and his vice president making those false claims about Haitian migrants.
Well, those are claims. No, those are claims that people. Those are claims that people in those communities made. Maybe some have now recanted or moved aside from it. But that should not take us away from the fundamental truth, and that is there are real impacts happening when you move people into communities, as has been done by design by the Biden administration and allowing people across the border.
You're in leadership. You know words matter.
Yeah, and I think one of the words that should matter the most is there is a real migratory crisis. There is a real migratory crisis, and even in this particular case, not just Springfield, Charleroi, other places like that, there are real impacts happening in our country with this movement of mass migration, and that's not gotten the coverage that it deserves. And you say you've covered it, but it hasn't gotten the coverage. The cats and dogs thing has gotten way more coverage than
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Man, Marco Rubio, y'all in the flesh, huh? He finna set this CBS host, man, I'm sick of all this ABC, CBS, CNBC, ABC, CGC, Disney, all this woke media. I'm sick of all this crap, man. All these alphabets and CBS, you know, you got to do the alphabet when you talk. I mean, this is ridiculous. Well, let's go and get into it, man. Oh, Marcus gonna get shut down, you know, left speechless live on the air. I don't know what they're talking about, you know, but we know what's them Patriots. We the people, we know what's going on. We know how corrupt the media is. We know how they like to hide and cover up stuff and wipe and make things just all of a sudden vanish. You know, we know what's going on, man. The people know what's going on. But when you start calling out the truth, you know, hey, man, you just can't make this up. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. God bless you all and your families, man. We wishing the best in everybody's life in this fast time travel that we live in, man. But I had a couple y'all send this over, so let's go and get into it, man. Oh boy, this is finna get good. The cats and the dogs, man. Immigration is just the border. Come on, they say it's wide open. Come on in. Come on in. Free food, free healthcare, free housing. Come on in. Unbelievable, man. People's towns and cities, just, you know, neighborhoods, just crime. I mean, it's just people scared to walk down the street, to send their kids off to school. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. What they've allowed to happen, it's ridiculous, man. But your vice president just went to the border. She's for 20 minutes, they say, to get a photo op. I mean, it's ridiculous. And she's laughing and giggling. It's ridiculous, man.
And we turn now to Florida Senator Marco Rubio, the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he joins us from Miami. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning.
So I have a lot to get to with you, but I want to focus in on what you and your committee have been told. I know U.S. intelligence and the FBI said foreign actors are increasing their election interference as we get closer to November. This week, the Senate is going to be briefed in full on this. What is the scenario that is concerning to you?
Well, I think it's going to become a fact of life in the 21st century. It's just very easy now for anyone to do it. You don't have to be a big nation state. So they're kind of all different. The Russians are looking at what are the pre-existing fractures in our country, and then they try to sow division, getting us to fight with one another. That's primarily what we've seen them focused on, sowing messages out there, including with inauthentic things that they create. You use AI, you make a fake video, whatever, you put it out there just to get Americans to fight against each other. In the case of Iran has, it seems to be more specifically focused on Donald Trump. I mean, it's been now publicly documented they're trying to kill him.
Prayers for Trump, man. Prayers for Trump, you guys. I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but prayers for Trump. For Trump, his protection, prayers for his family, his team, his campaign. We don't know what to expect next. Prayers for you guys and your family. We don't know what to expect next, man. And like I told y'all, in October, it's supposed to be crazy in October, man. A lot of people are speaking about it. You can just feel it, but prayers that it doesn't get crazy in October, and that we can make it to an election. And I believe it's going to be too big to rig, but they're saying it's supposed to get crazy, man. But we don't know what to expect, y'all. And again, it's a lot of things that they're talking about and that I can't even mention on camera or on this video because I don't want to get in any trouble or anything, but it's crazy, man. It is crazy. We are in crunch time now. We are living in the biggest history yet, y'all. The biggest history yet. And they don't want Trump here. I hate to say it on camera, but they don't want him here. When you want no wars and you're footing the money supply, hey. He simply said, we want everybody to stop dying. And they still find a way to twist his words and make him look like he's not human, like he's such an evil bad guy. When he calls out common sense stuff. And meanwhile, people are clapping for these puppet politicians. I just don't see it, man. Again, they said, come on in. It's wide open. But you got people, we the people, homeless, veterans, homeless, struggling on the street. America isn't America anymore, you guys. I hate to tell y'all, man. But I apologize for interrupting and going on my full-blown rants and talking. I apologize, y'all. Let me go on resume. My bad, man. But it's just an absolute.
So if Iran's trying to kill Donald Trump, they most certainly don't want him to win the election. And so that's what their efforts have been, including attempted hack and leak operations and things of this nature. The Chinese are really kind of new into this business or growing into this business of it. And they seem increasingly, in some, at least in past cases that we've seen publicly disclosed, going after specific candidates that they view as being anti-China. I don't think they want Donald Trump to win, but I do think you've seen them focus on things like congressional races in the past. Mm-hmm. And I also think they're laying the groundwork for more expansive operations in the future on influencing American public opinion on things like Taiwan and what's happening in the South China Sea and things of that nature. So there are multiple actors out there that are in this space now, and I think you'll see more in the years to come because you don't really need, to build anything really expensive. You just need access to the World Wide Web, and we're an open country, an open society with open means of communication. And the best way to deal with all this is for awareness. People to understand everything you see on the internet isn't true.
Right, exactly. That's why we want to talk about it. Microsoft's president testified before your committee, and as he put it, the most perilous time is the 48 hours right before the election. He described this as a race between not just Trump and Harris, but Iran versus Trump and Russia versus Harris. Do you think the United States has gotten smarter in how it responds? And have we learned from what happened in 2016?
Yeah, and so what he alluded to are some instances in the past where some fake audio or fake video generated using AI is put out there and it influences the election 48 hours. I think we're a little bit insulated from that, not that we should let our guard down, but a lot of the votes are already in by the time 48 hours comes around. So that doesn't mean it's irrelevant in very close races. It could tip the scales. I do think all the way around, here's the bottom line. If you see something out there, a video that just seems way too scandalous, I would pause for a second and make sure that it can be verified. That's my advice to everybody, is don't just believe something you see for the first time. It may have been something that happened 5 years ago, and they're making it look like it happened yesterday. It may be something that, that has been made up right. using an AI mechanism to do so. And so that's be my advice to people as well. Again, I'm not saying 48 hours before the election is irrelevant in America. Mm-hmm. I am saying it's probably less impactful than it is in some of these other countries who don't have mail voting, early voting, where so many of the votes are already in by then.
Well, the Biden administration has issued sanctions, warnings, these public disclosures. One of them this week was about Iran trying to hurt the Trump campaign by hacking and stealing information and then sending it to the Biden campaign. This was similar to that hack and leak operation disclosed in terms of trying to target journalists. And I know it was widely reported information about you, sir, was stolen and given to journalists. Do you know what was stolen?
No, but I doubt it's anything that you probably couldn't find with, just a search online of past stories that have been written and things of that nature. But I think you're going to seek more of that in the years to come. And I don't think that to credit to the media outlets and so forth, I remind that didn't run with it. I remind everybody, back in 2016 when this first happened, I said that's a foreign operation that was used targeting the Clinton campaign. So this is going to become one of those things that is, I'm not saying we should be happy about it or accepting of it, but we need to be just understanding that this is now going to become a regular feature, not just of presidential races. Presidential races get so much attention that I think you can wade through some of that. It benefits from that at least. But I think some of these lower ballot races are the ones that are particularly more susceptible, because if you're running for Congress or Senate somewhere, let's say a congressional seat, and someone dumps something like this on you, it's much harder to get the truth out there in time for it to be cleared up. There just isn't going to be as much interest, and there isn't going to be as much people covering it.
Well, Donald Trump posted about the hack and leak operation attributed to Iran, but he said it was evidence that the FBI was spying on him and then blamed the vice president for spying on him. That is not at all the case. Again, I don't know anything more than what's been publicly reported when it comes to that hack and leak operation. Perhaps we'll know more this week. But again, it doesn't surprise me that someone, clicked on something, they got into your system, they stole documents, and then they try to give it to the media. And look, here's what we're going to see one day. It's not just that they're going to take it and give it to a campaign or the media. They're going to give it to somebody, some online journalist, somebody who will run with this stuff and will begin to report on it, or maybe even alter it. For example, make up a fake email where it looks like a real email. Maybe it is a real email, but they alter a few words in it and put it out there. And by the time you put out that fire, it's done damage. In a presidential race, everybody will cover that, and I think you can get to the truth a lot faster. In a down ballot race, it's going to be a lot harder for some candidate to prove that that email is fake. By the time they do, the election may be over. Just to be clear, though, it was the FBI that publicly disclosed this with the Intelligence Committee as happening, not the FBI spying on the Trump campaign. There are, when we want to talk about threats to Mr. Trump, it was just last Sunday, there was the second near miss. There are FBI investigations underway into what happened here. But Senator Vance said he doesn't trust Kamala Harris's Department of Justice to really investigate this stuff. Can you assure the American people that law enforcement is conducting a full and impartial investigation? Well, I think people on the ground in law enforcement want to do so. What information is made available to the American public, which deserves to know what is behind each one, not just one, but two assassination attempts of Donald Trump. I think that's where this lack of trust in institutions. Look, multiple people in the Federal Bureau of Investigation faced charges or were fired for misconduct in the way they handled issues about Donald Trump just 8 years ago. So I think people are rightful to be suspicious and distrusting. And that's why it's so damaging, for example, when 51 former intelligence officials, sign a letter saying that a laptop of Hunter Biden is Russian disinformation, then it turns out not to be true. And then people logically conclude, well, this is an example of how these agencies and our institutions work against candidates they don't like. It undermines people's trust in our institutions. And that lack of trust is eroded in government.
government, in the media,
Yes.
in our agencies within government. And unfortunately, that's why disclosure and openness with regards to these investigations is so critical. It's not just because we want to know, it's
Right.
because it's important to preserve trust in our institutions. And we're
But
not
you-
seeing that. More on the second than the first, but we're not seeing it.
But you trust the FBI and can assure the public that they are investigating these assassination attempts that J.D. Vance says they're not taking seriously?
I trust rank and file in the field FBI agents to do their job.
Okay.
I don't know what their leadership in some of these agencies and the mid-level will do with it, because you've seen a history in the past of there being bias. I hope that's not true.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think what the real question is, if in fact they do discover, let's just say, I'm speculating, I'm not saying I know this to be true or even that I think is true, but let's say there is a foreign nexus to one of these two attempts. Would they allow that information to be put out there to the American public before the election in November? I can't tell you with 100% certainty that there wouldn't be
Should they?
those within the agency. Yes, absolutely. I think that's an
Okay.
important factor for people to know.
I wanted to ask you about whether you have heard or have any information in regard to a foreign nexus in regard to the bomb threats made in Springfield, Ohio. The governor of Ohio said they had over 30. And he said the person who made the calls came from overseas. This was after Trump and Vance put the focus on Haitian migrants in that town.
Yeah, only what's been reported publicly, but that would not be uncommon. For example, a lot of these calls where they call and tell the SWAT team to go to someone's house because there's a murder occurring, a lot of these come from overseas as well. And unfortunately, that doesn't mean it's being directed by a government overseas. It could be. I haven't heard that. But just because they're coming from overseas doesn't mean a government is behind it. But yeah, we have these kinds of individuals all over the world that like to do these kinds of things.
Well, here in this country, in terms of people being inspired to take action, we have been looking, as you heard, about what the perception of the public is right now, particularly with some of the things that Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance say. Our poll shows 2/3 of Trump supporters believe those false and disparaging claims about Haitian migrants are true. The governor of Ohio has said he is a big supporter of the ticket, but he's sad about this because there's no evidence of these claims. He's disparaging migrants who are legal, and the verbal attacks dilute and cloud what should be a winning argument for Republicans about the border. Do you agree that this kind of thing is
We know what's going on. Don't set it down.
a distraction from the broader point and dangerous?
Well, it shouldn't be a distraction, because at a minimum, it shouldn't keep us from, for example, saying, okay, well, maybe I don't believe the dogs and the cats thing, but there are literally people moving in by the thousands in the case of Springfield.
Damn.
Charleroi in Pennsylvania. That's a 4,000 person city that has 2,500 migrants. And I think one of the problems here.
And we got a video coming on that. You guys do not want to miss that. We have a full-blown video coming on what's going on there. Woo!
Is that somehow Americans who are not intolerant, they're not bigots, but they are troubled by the fact that their city is being flooded. In Springfield, you see reports, these are legitimate reports, of huge increases in traffic accidents leading to slower police response time, overcrowded schools. I mean, the strain this puts on a community, and if you complain about it, somehow you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a hater.
No,
that is the story here, that everyday Americans are being made to feel like they're haters because they're complaining.
I get it every day, man. Calling out the truth, calling out, what's actually going on. What we need back, common sense. They call you racist, they call you this, Yep.
Think about something any of us would complain. If any of us, I don't care who we are, live in a city of 4,000 people, and you bring in 2,500 migrants overnight into one place, there are going to be problems, and people are going to complain. That doesn't make you a bigot.
There are absolutely problems.
That should be what we're focused on.
That the governor has documented and that we have talked about here, but it wasn't everyday people making those claims. It was the Republican nominee and his vice president making those false claims about Haitian
migrants.
Are claims.
Those are claims that people. Those are claims that people in those communities made. Maybe some have now recanted or moved aside from it. But that should not take us away from the fundamental truth, and that is
always trying to spin it, trying to duck and dodge and hide from the truth. Oh yeah. Look, and you could tell how she. Look at that body language. Look at her body language, y'all. We're not going for it, man. And we the people know what's going on. We know the cats and dogs thing was a little And when he said that, some people were kind of like, wait, did Trump really say that? And then now they're seeing what he actually is talking about. And we've seen these situations on police reports. I mean, it's been reported. People have been talking about it. And what they do, try to hide it and cover it up.
There are real impacts happening when you move people into communities, as has been done by design by the Biden administration.
Yes, but you know, you're in leadership. You know words matter.
Yeah, and I think one of the words that should matter the most is there is a real migratory crisis.
It is.
There is a real migratory crisis. And even in this particular case, not just Springfield, Charleroi, other places
all over. And they're trying to hide it and cover it up. But the people know what's going on. The people are being affected every single day. And it's unfair. It's a disgrace what they've allowed to happen.
That there are real impacts happening in our country with this movement of mass migration, and that's not gotten the coverage that it deserves.
Yeah.
And you say you've covered it, but it hasn't gotten the coverage. The cats and dogs thing has gotten way more coverage than the real world impacts that this is having. And I think that's what needs to change in the way this issue is covered.
Mm-hmm. We will talk about that more on this.
Yeah, that's it for her. Yeah. Go on, cut it. Go on, cut the fee. Yes, indeed, man. What y'all think of that? Comment down below. I love you guys, man. And I'm wishing the best in all you guys' life. Hey, I'm going to call it for what it is, man. The truth. Again, a lot of people don't want to hear it. They run from it. They hide from it. But hey, they don't want to hear it. They do not want to hear it. But it's actually going on. It's happening, baby. Yes, indeed, man. Marco Rubio. They say Rubio knows how to speak French and Spanish. Man, they say Rubio know how to put it down, don't he? Oh, man. But y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And God bless you all and your families. And I will catch you beautiful people in the next one. Peace and love, y'all.